am continuing this build on this EJ205 engine. As you know, this is from a 2005 WRX, and this sucker is going in my 1998 RSTi coupe that's right outside. And I'm just finishing up the installation of this crossover pipe, and I'll walk you guys through it right now. This is my little SubaruONLY shop. It's a DIY Subaru channel. It's a channel where all I do is Subaru builds and race Subaru vehicles in motorsport events. It's a DIY themed channel where I walk you guys through the steps to get your Subarus back on the road and hopefully do a little racing of your own. So thanks for checking out the video, guys. I really appreciate it. These are these little slots where we have O-rings that seal the coolant for the crossover pipe. And basically, when you take these old O-rings out, I got them over here, I can actually grab one for you. You can see it right here. These old O-rings, as you can see, it's got all this like white crud on it. And that white crud is like mineral deposits from the coolant. And that white crud deposits this like little hard scaly stuff. It's kind of like hard water deposits in your shower. It's the minerals that come out of the water. And that stuff deposits and gets on the O-rings and in this little groove right down in here. So in this little groove, I'm trying to scrape away all that little stuff. I basically just got all of it away. It's kind of the last little step right here. I've also, like when I scrape it away and then I'm blowing it, or kind of, you can use a little vacuum or something, but you want to make sure you don't get it inside your little hole. And to do that, I actually got this like just a little plug right here. This is like just a little pipe plug, and this is a perfect size, this little hole. So you can go and put it in like that. And then when I scrape it away, I can actually kind of just blow it to get out of the way, right? Like that, pretty much. And then I'm taking a little rag, and I'll use a little bit of carb cleaner on a rag and just kind of wipe it away and make sure I got all the little dust and debris out of the way. And then I'll go ahead and put one of these new O-rings in. That's right here. So that's this little sucker, and this is a new O-ring, and that fits in right there after we've cleaned it completely. I've actually got this one pretty good and clean. And that fits in right there. So you replace those flat squished O-rings with new rubber ones that have some elasticity to them. So they'll seal that little coolant passage. So you got two new O-rings right there. Incidentally, these are like this is a coolant crossover pipe that goes right here. Let me grab you and show you what that looks like. This is what the coolant crossover pipe looks like. Okay. When you flip it over, these two ports where the coolant enters this crossover pipe, and they actually go into this pipe and they exit right here where they go into your radiator. And then right here, this little port, this is actually where your sensor is. So this is going to be your coolant sensor. Anytime you're going to pull this crossover pipe out, it's a good idea to pull that sensor out and then clean the tip of that sensor. And that's right over here actually. And that's this guy. This is actually your coolant temperature sensor. And I've actually already pulled this thing out and cleaned it. There was a little bit of white gunk on this thing that had built up also. That's those mineral deposits. So you want to clean that off if you're going to reuse these sensors. And a lot of times they'll last a long time, so it's fine to reuse them. It's a good idea to replace this little brass crush washer. That's a general rule of thumb. Anytime you see a brass crush washer and you pull a sensor out that has one of these, or any kind of bolt out that uses a brass crush washer, you want to make sure you replace that sucker. So I'll replace that brass crush washer because I actually have a box full of a bunch of different sizes of these crush washers. And I'm going to go ahead and reuse this coolant temperature sensor. So this sensor will screw right into this guy right here. If you have a new crush washer, you shouldn't need to use any RTB, but you know, it's always a good idea to put just a teeny little dab of RTB on that because it's going to be sealing coolant. That goes in like that. And then like I said, those two ports right here, those connect up to these two ports. And these ports, these are the exit ports for the coolant after it's circulated through your heads. So basically coolant enters your block through the water pump, and that's over here, right here. That's your water pump, right? So the water pump is being turned by your timing belt, and all of your drive accessories are being turned by that timing belt. So the water pump is being turned, that pumps coolant right through this passage, in through your engine. It actually goes into the short block, and then it circulates from the bottom up through your heads. So basically you want to kind of be circulating the coolant through your head over here, and then it comes out right here. And this is actually where your coolant is going to be at its maximum temperature in the system. It's absorbed all the heat from the combustion chambers, and it's actually trying to get out of the block, and it's on its way to get cooled by the radiator. So that's why when you have this crossover pipe right here, you actually have your temperature sensor here. So your temperature sensor is actually measuring your coolant at the hottest point in the system, right after the coolant has circulated through your combustion chambers and absorbed out all that heat from the combustion chambers. So that's where you're measuring your temperature, and then from there, it actually exits right through this port and goes into your radiator. Radiator is sitting right here, and then it gets cooled by ambient air. So that's actually a step I'm on right now. I'm gonna go ahead and install this right now, as a matter of fact. I'll also show you guys that I'm replacing these nasty old bolts. Here's actually one of the worst ones. You see a close up of this sucker. This is actually the bolts that were used to hold down this crossover pipe. And these suckers oftentimes get really nasty and corroded because they're kind of exposed to a little bit of coolant that might get in there, or any of the other residue. And so you want to replace these with something that's a new bolt. And I'll be replacing them with one of these stainless steel bolts, a little washer right there. That should be a lot better resistance to corrosion, and with that little washer that will hold that sucker down. You don't want to put a whole lot of torque on these suckers. You're typically going to put torque of around 8 to 10 foot-pounds for a bolt this size. So I'm only going to torque it down to about 8 foot-pounds. I already have those new O-rings in there, so I can go ahead and torque them down right now. Get them all started first, and then torque them all down to, like I said, around 8 foot-pounds. And that is what I'm up to on this EJ205 engine build. And this engine is going to be actually installed in my 1998 RSTi coupe that's right outside. And that coupe is going to have this engine's from a 2005 WRX. It's basically the whole driveline from the 2005. The transmission, the rear differential, the axles, the hubs, the brakes, everything on that car is from a 2005 WRX. I'll go ahead and grab a little Allen key here, or Allen fitting. Get this sucker installed. Now you guys are probably noticing that this crossover pipe looks nice and shiny. So I didn't really tell you guys, this sucker was looking really corroded, nasty when I took it apart for this engine rebuild. And I'll see if I can find some of the older pictures of this crossover pipe. But basically this crossover pipe had all kinds of white corrosion and residue on it and oxidation on it, and it probably had a bunch of coolant that spilled on it because this engine had a blown head gasket, so coolant probably spilled all over the engine. All that coolant kind of evaporated and left a little residue and all that white little like hard residue that's some mineral deposits, along with oxidation and all this nastiness that was on this crossover pipe. So what I did is I actually cleaned it with hot soap and water, and then I sprayed it with mag wheel cleaner. And that's basically like a raw aluminum or magnesium wheel cleaner. And you basically want to spray it on after you've cleaned off all the oil and all the surface residue. Spray that stuff on, let it soak for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then use a brass brush. And basically use that brass brush or that brass wire wheel and basically just work it, and then rinse it with clean water. Make sure you get all the debris and all the residue off that cast surface, and do that like 3 or 4 times. It's kind of a rinse and repeat kind of step process, and that's basically what you end up with. Really nice. I mean, it's still got a little bit of staining in it, but overall this cast finish is looking pretty much near restored condition, which I think is great. And anytime you have cast aluminum, I like to not really paint it. It's a good idea never to paint cast parts in general, I think. Cast aluminum can always pretty much be cleaned up and refurbished, and I always think it looks better and it'll last a lot longer. It'll look better for a lot longer if you just refurbish the cast surface and not actually go to painting it or something like that. Just kind of torque this sucker down to something real light, like 7 or 8 foot-pounds. Something like this, 7 or 8 foot-pounds, you probably only need to use torque wrench. A lot of times I'll just do it like by feel. But for the sake of just being exact, I'll go ahead and torque it to 8. Alright, that is a crossover pipe. That sucker's installed, it's looking good. I'm going to move on to the next part on this EJ205 engine build. I'll probably put in the AC bracket right here. I'm going to not use the AC unit on this car. This is going to be mostly a dedicated track car, although it's going to be street legal. It's going to be registered for the street, but I'm not going to have an air conditioning unit. I'm probably also going to, I might ditch the heater as well, but it's kind of nice to have that way of dissipating heat, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with the heater. But I am going to use the AC bracket because that bracket actually has a little hook in it that you can use to remove your engine and reinstall your engine. So we're going to install that big bracket, and then I'll be ready to go ahead and do my front timing assembly. So if you kind of come around here to the front right now, You can kind of see that right here, I have the new cam seals I've installed. I got the back plastic covers for my timing cover assembly, and I've actually got my hydraulic tensioner right here installed. I got my water pump installed. So the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and put those timing gears on, those cam timing gears, and then I'll go ahead and put that timing set on. So the next video will most likely be on installing those cam gears and installing that timing set, and installing that timing belt, and setting the timing for this engine. Because installing a timing belt and doing the timing for these engines is a really common maintenance procedure that a lot of you guys are going to have to do, and it'd be good to have a dedicated video for that. Thanks so much for checking out the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them in the comments section. If you liked the video, please go ahead and give it a like. If you thought this video would be good for any of your friends in the Subaru community, go ahead and copy the link and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for checking out the video, guys. My name's Luke. This is SubaruONLY channel. Until next time, guys. Later!